Yeah, this has been one that's been top of mind for a while. So we're really getting through the crux of the topic list. But this is definitely the story of my favorite Silicon Valley Karen. I mean, she takes the cake. And if you don't know this story, there's a whole documentary. There's actually a couple of them. There's one on Hulu. I think it might be on Netflix now too. Wow. So, the perfect Silicon Valley Karen, Elizabeth Holmes, and the fetish of white female genius. In the mythology of American innovation, there is no character more sacred than the white founder with a dream. Silicon Valley, the cultural epicenter of this mythology, has produced a specific genre of this character. We call her the Karen-preneur. Elizabeth Holmes, founder of Theranos, is the poster child. Blonde, Stanford educated, and speaking in the hushed tones of visionary gravity. Holmes spun a medical lie so large it garnered her a net worth of $4.5 billion on paper. Her product didn't work. Her science was false. But none of that mattered because in Silicon Valley, the image of potential, when paired with whiteness, class privilege, and academic pedigree, is more bankable than reality. Elizabeth Holmes is the perfect Silicon Valley Karen because she represents what happens when entitlement meets capital with no checks or skepticism. Her whiteness and elite education didn't just open doors, they erased red flags. She didn't invent anything new. She invented trust in herself. She parroted the language of disruption, borrowed Steve Jobs' uniform, and feigned a deep baritone voice for credibility. Yet, despite her fraud, she was seen as a misunderstood genius. Why? Because she fit the profile of what Silicon Valley and America want to believe about who brings value into the world. The Randos board was stacked with powerful old men, none with relevant biomedical expertise, who co signed her fantasy. Investors poured hundreds of millions, not because they saw proof of function, but because they saw a white girl with confidence and credentials. In a society where access and aesthetics are more powerful than facts, Holmes' scam wasn't a glitch in the system. It was a system functioning exactly as it's designed. What's most offensive about the Elizabeth Holmes saga is not just the grift, it's who the grift worked on. Silicon Valley, a space that routinely shrugs off diversity, equity, and inclusion. Sorry, we'll just need up in this way. Hmm. Initiatives was perfectly comfortable handing the keys of innovation to a blonde fraud. They laughed DEI out of the room, but gladly funded a woman whose only true innovation was cosplay as the female Jobs. Her whiteness was seen as credibility. Her lies were interpreted as bold vision. Her recklessness was recast as disruption. In a Fortune article published in July 2025, Tech CEO Gary Tan slammed the culture that allows young founders to lie their way into the spotlight. He warns that college entrepreneurship programs are breeding delusion that many Gen Zers inspired by the likes of Holmes and Sam Bankman Fried could end up in prison. But his warnings arrive a decade too late. Holmes' rise wasn't an anomaly, it was a template. Her scam succeeded because Silicon Valley values aesthetics over accountability. They want to believe in the next big thing, especially if it looks like her. What makes Holmes unique is not her scam, but how much goodwill and funding she was able to extract while doing so. Imagine a black woman saying she could revolutionize blood testing with no peer reviewed data, no clinical trials, and a suspiciously opaque lab. She would be laughed out of the pitch room if she got in at all. But Elizabeth Holmes was given $900 million. If you think I am joking, please go watch this documentary. She scammed $1 billion. This is the story of the $1 billion Karen, bro. Even I'm a fan. Like, I've seen some scams. This bitch takes the cake. She literally scammed Peter Thiel out of like $200 million. She had no product. She had no test, nothing. She just walked in and was like, I can do it. I'm sorry. This, this is how you know Karens and Kens are, two sides of the same dusty ass bag. Like, everybody should go broke because that's a fucking shame. There's something deeply gendered too. Holmes weaponized white womanhood not as a victim, but as a prophet. She wore the turtleneck of Steve Jobs, but walked with the protective aura of the white daughter America always believes. Her gender didn't hinder her, but it protected her. If she had been a man, the scrutiny would have come faster. Had she been a woman of color, it would have never begun. Even after the fall, the media covered her with curiosity and tragic framing. She was always ambitious, never criminal. Her fraud was epic, but she was pregnant, blonde, and wore beige cardigans to court. She wasn't a con artist. She was a misunderstood genius, undone by ambition. The coverage was full of sympathy, as if a woman who risked lives with faulty medical devices deserved empathy for failing big. But there's a darker lesson here. America and Silicon Valley, by extension, don't care about truth if the lie is told by the right person. Holmes proved that whiteness can insulate you from evidence. It, in fact, can act as evidence itself. She didn't have to prove the product worked. She was the product. And for a while, she sold better than anything real. In the wake of her downfall, Silicon Valley hasn't learned much. For every Holmes that goes to trial, there are a dozen underqualified white founders with VC checks and LinkedIn buzzwords um, like being great or groomed for success or greatness. Meanwhile, the actual innovators, often women of color, struggle to find visibility, funding, or basic respect. So Elizabeth Holmes is not an outlier. She's the rule. The scam wasn't the Ranos. The scam was the system that enables her. And the lesson is this. In Silicon Valley, whiteness is still the most valuable asset a founder can have, even if everything else is fake. And now here's the thing that I think is the most interesting. Notice that the guy who calls it out and gives the graduation speech is the Chinese tech founder who's talking to other Chinese students. Have you ever heard Peter Thiel come out and say, "Oh my God, I made a mistake. I would like to protect the next generation"? No. You know why? Because he doesn't give a shit, and neither does anybody else. So because nobody has called him out, there's a lot of people who just continue to mock her. The scam was great. I gotta give it to her. Like, in the grand scheme of like schemes, um, pimping old white men out of $1 billion is kind of fucking great. Like, she's a boss bitch who will go down in history in my book. I've never seen anything like it. So you should watch this documentary if you haven't. The funny thing is, it came out in like, what is that, like 2012? I couldn't understand why this guy is given, like, he just gave that speech in July. So that's why I wanted to bring it here. I thought it was weird. He was like calling her out, but this happened so long ago. I'm gonna look up when that documentary came out. Like, I know he's saying that. This is because we're having conversations about China and Africa. That's why he's saying that shit. I think that they're like, this was published in Fortune, which I also thought was very strange. Like, the people who he wants to reach, obviously he reached them because they were the ones like graduating and going to build the shit. The sad part is like all the people who are gonna mimic her, and him are not going to listen to the talk, right? Like, obviously, we will listen to the talk, but we wouldn't be scamming like that in the first place. The whole is like ironic and like strange at the same time. Like, I'm going to look this up. So, Elizabeth document. Okay, it's called The Inventor, and it came out in 2019. But the scam happened in like 2008. I feel like this is an old story, which I feel like maybe that's another thing. I know some of you guys like to hear my takes on stuff happening in the valley. I don't cover it too much because I don't think there's any good lessons to take from it. But this one is a good one, and it's strange that other people are pointing it out, like other adults. Like this is a grown ass man. This is like a 60-year-old Chinese man who's talking about this in 2025 when the thing happened in 2008. That's why I think it's strange too. I'm not trying to like throw back to old shit that happened, but like let's all have the same conversation at the same time with the same set of facts, right? It's on HBO Max, actually. Wait, it's in a couple places. So you could watch it on HBO Max. Okay, it's on Hulu. That's what I thought. I think I originally watched it on Hulu. It's like only 9 episodes, but the scam is great. Like it's almost it's insane. Like she just scammed all the biggest investors. Like everybody whose pockets are full, she scammed them out of so much fucking money. It's just insane. I've never even heard of a story like that. Like it's too good to not tell. So definitely my favorite Karen by a long shot.